in a parliamentary government, we are discussing minister versus civil servant relationship. Parliamentary form of government like India, there exist two type of executive. One is political, elected by the permanent executive, and political executive derives power from the people and enjoy the power by virtue of constitutional position. So there is one is the political elected, we can say elected and permanent. Political executive derives power from the people and enjoy power by virtue of constitutional position, while permanent executive or a civil servant, one is non-permanent, they are elected and they works in a parliament, and second one they are permanent. So permanent are, we can say, civil servants, and these civil servants are enjoy the power virtue of constitution, and they are taking their power by constitution and by merit based system, and accumulate its power due to the administrative position and technical expertise. Administration plus technical expertise. The system of a democratic government is based on the principle of popular sovereignty. So there is a popular sovereignty, popular sovereignty, whereas the supreme rests in people of their elected representative. Political executive और minister is assisted by civil servant. So political जो होते हैं उनको assist कौन करता है? Political that are assisted by civil servant. Political is assisted by civil servant. A balanced relationship between them essential for smooth, efficient functioning, and minister civil servant act as the two pillars of parliamentary government, and weakness of any of one is them will adversely affect the performance of government. They, theoretically, political and permanent executive perform different role, but in practice work in often overlapping. So now what is their introduction? In dichotomy, political and administration is classical name in political science. Started writing Woodrow Wilson, then Max Weber, several other writers. But in today's scenario, this idea of separation has been totally discarded, and their overlapping area, which result into both conflict as well as cooperation between politician and administration. For over developing country like India, it become more important that both work in the harmonious, giving them respect, and no doubt unholy alliance between the two is a new scheme. So there was a famous revision series of United Kingdom in 1980 named the US Minister. It was a politician. So minister, it is known as a politician satire, and that was system of funny manner. In this, every morning the new ardent minister gives daily order to his senior civil servant, and later obediently say yes minister, but never follow the instruction. When again called the minister for the complying yes minister, and condition remains same everywhere. So this is, citizens are also not satisfied with the functioning of the civil servant. The fifth pay commission. What is fifth pay commission? It is about the public impression of civil servant. However, one speak to enlightened member of the public, she has several complaints against the public service. These relate their size, productivity, accountability, and transparency. There is a general impression that the absolute size of bureaucracy is overgrown beyond increasing at rapid pace, with scant regard for the World Bank. With the that was the workload. People also speak bureaucracy being top heavy. Not only are public servants received to be too many number, it is believed that they do not contribute to the gross domestic product. Public servants allegedly come late in office, spend a large part of day of sipping tea, smoking, indulging in gossip, Consequently, performance is said to be abysmally low. Estimates of their actual working hour from 1 to 2.5 hours a day. It is felt that bureaucrats are a law unto themselves. They hide behind the mountains of papers, maintain uncalled for their secrecy, dealing with public issue and superstitious decision for consideration. They are not always spelled out on paper and accountable. So they have lifetime contract of service which cannot be cut short, defended as they are by the safeguard by the Article 311 of the Constitution. Their misdeeds are never found out, and if exposed, they take refuge behind and protecting wall of collective decision making in the committee, which cannot be brought to book. And the most serious charges leveled against them is that they lack integrity, honesty. Thus, they are alleged to lack not merely in the sense that they accept money reward for the decisions, and so many schemes are being uncovered every day, and the evidence was unearthed in public servant, not only the corruption but also beneficiary of the system. In the modern democracy, politicians are more accountable to the public for their action, and maintain this political accountability have to be accountable to the ministers. And relation between politicians and civil servants differ from country to country depending upon the conditions. No include scale for secretary, deputy secretary, and other professional administration. Bureaucracy, in other words, often used for the made this concept of this, and bureaucracy generally associated with the term like red tape, delay, repetition, wastage of time. In India, relationship between minister civil servant are governed by the Government of India Act 1919, and that was enforced in 1921, so also known the Montesquieu-Chelmsford reform. After this, for the first time, Indian civil service officers were made to work under the supervision of newly formed officers. Later was accountable to Legislative Council. As the relationship between minister civil servant in India has remained in the dispute since a couple of years, leading to the number of slam poor performance. Hence, a modest attempt was made the write up analyzing evaluating the relationship. The article was presented based on the quality analysis. The data were obtained through the observation and interview, and the observation were conducted in the non-partisanship manner, and interview conducted in the deep, and the informant were determined purposely. Now there was a civil servant in India. Civil servant, those are service which are consulted by the government to give practical shape to all its plan. Ian Gladen called the civil service as the heterogeneous body. He told it is a heterogeneous body of person who are engaged upon task confined to the national civil servant. According to the Deshpande about the civil service in the India is a phrase. Civil service is used a different clause by the government for the general administration. Normally, it does not include the legislative judicial officer. तो इसमें कोई भी लेजिस्लेचर या फिर जुडिशियल ऑफिसर नहीं होते हैं, और मेंबर ऑफ डिफेंस सर्विस. डिफेंस सर्विस इज ऑल्सो नॉट इन दैट. ऑफिशियल ऑफ लोकल बॉडीज आर नॉट सिविल सर्वेंट. तो लोकल बॉडी के जो होते हैं दैट इज ऑल्सो नॉट. लोकल बॉडी इज ऑल्सो नॉट सिविल सर्वेंट. Civil servants are paid from the Consolidated Fund of India. They paid from the Consolidated Fund of India. Britain, civil servants are those servants who are the crown, other than holder of the political judicial officer, who are employed in the civil capacity, remunerated through the budget, and thus the civil servants are non-political. So they are non-political and non-elected. Okay, and who carry out the administrative process under the supervision control of the elected representative. So there is a elected representative, under their control they work. Iron Lady Indira Gandhi, former Prime Minister of India, successor of Jawaharlal Nehru, formulated concept of committed bureaucracy neutrality की जगह पर. She believed that the desired change could bring out in the system only through the committed civil servant towards the politician leads. There's need to change the colonial mindset. This concept was there criticized by the other parties, and it is would create a line of such dutiful civil servants. And yes, minister and will work to the support their political leaders, as that was civil servants are committed to the policies of the Communist Party. It was also said that Mr. Indira Gandhi was turning to a tyrant to perpetuate the rule, but committed does not mean the committed to the ideology of ruling party, but a civil servant personally and emotionally involved in the task. It is also one of the recommendation of the Administrative Reform Commission committed to the objectives of development of society is one thing and that benefit the political leaders. Nowadays, the civil servants generally work in the favor of their respective ministers, and therefore political interference is day-to-day administration. Civil servants who do not obediently follow their minister order or toe to their wishes are punished and putting in low profile compulsory retirement. The example of Ashok Khemka 1991 batch Indian Administration Services Haryana, best known for the cancelling the land deal of Gurgaon, and Robert Vadra, son of the Sonia Gandhi. Khemka was transferred 45 times state government in the 23 years as a expose of corruption in the department. Similarly, the Pradeep Kasni, another IAS officer, hardly appointed the lucrative post in 24 years, and his posting as Commissioner of the Gurgaon could not be sustained more than 3 months. Another IAS, Durga Shakti Nagpal from Uttar Pradesh, suspended by the CM of state doing the duty honestly. Likewise, many civil servants also the political influence patronage began their career. However, civil servants often think themselves as a my baap due to their colonial mindset. In the connection of Sixth Pay Commission has aptly made comment that for the common man, bureaucracy denotes routine and repetitive procedure and paperwork and delay. Thus, despite the fact that the government and bureaucracy exist facilitate the citizen rightful pursuit, so rigidity of the system, over centralization, hierarchical top-down method, delaying the decisions, divorce, authority, accountability, tendency towards the mismanagement led to the structure which formed the more important. And now non-performance of the administration structure, poor service quality, lack of responsiveness, and now this was abuse of authority, negative abuse authority, eroded the trust in government and which need to be restored urgently. Thus, the rising tendency of the politicization of the bureaucracy indeed a serious concern. Function of the civil service. The main function of the civil service aid and advice to the political executive. Formulation of the policies. They collect the required data, try to reach to the root problem to solve it, find the solutions. In other words, they act as a think tank and government and give the best possible advice. So they act as a think tank and give the advice to the government, best possible advice. They play important role execution of the law without any bias. So execution of the law is also one of the work, and they play very important role for execution without any biasness. According to the Gladen, it is a function of civil servant fulfill the will of the parliament formulating by the cabinet. The cabinet works out policy of the government. The civil servants see that the policy when duly approved by the parliament or not. So politicians तो policy बनाते हैं. The work of the government increase today become more complex. There is a need for the group of the officials. It is called the fourth organ. They are called the fourth organ of the government. There is a need to distinct group, and that was a Max Weber. The decisive reason for the advance of bureaucratic organization has always been a technical superiority over any other organization. It is a truly said the country gets its shape by the quality of administration. Now next is civil servants act as the advisor to the political master. So they are advisor to the political master. Aim should be to implement the policy. It is expected from the civil servant to deliver the impartial advice without fear. A doctrine of anonymity and neutrality, that was the anonymity plus neutrality, is derived from the Weberian model, and this civil servant from the politician make them impersonal they work impersonal and professional outlook. In India, civil service conduct rule also support the Weberian principle neutrality and from actively participate the political activity to support the political party. But this concept of neutrality is declined with the passage of time process of policy making, and civil servant also play important role in the status passed by the government not clear enough. Normally ministers are not experts, they only have a general ideas problem of this. After the disintegration of USSR, communalism declined and increased the trend of liberalization. LPG took the center stage of idea. Due to this change, the role of the state changes from the welfare state and non-interference, and which only perform those functions can't be performed by the market. So there is a need professionally sound, honest civil servant implementing any the program of development and regulating market. They act as a catalyst for the developing country, hence enhance the speed of the progress. They have reached to the all information, adequate communication, fact, pragmatism, dynamic flexibility to rapid decisions, and often new political social conditions. We don't have to be the adaptable and amiable nature. So there should be a quick decision making is also possible. So every department headed by the minister, there is a civil servant and administration head and a minister responsible for the formulation of the policy. तो फॉर्मुलेशन कौन करता है? दैट वाज द मिनिस्टर. एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एग्जीक्यूशन करता है. ठीक है. तो मिनिस्टर कैन ऑल्सो बी इंटरप्ट टू एडमिन वर्क where the reform legitimate public complaint needed. He or she make top administration appointment related to the department. Now it is under the system of delegated legislation. So there is a delegated legislation. Delegated legislation role of civil servant has been increased, and with the increase of the government there is a simultaneous increased power of the civil servant. The administrative success of government depend on the satisfactory function of the civil servant. A new debate arises: if all work depending on the civil servant, then there is a hardly a need for any politician to run the government. But it is a wrong to say that politicians lose the important. They are directly elected by the people and power of people rests with them. They are more connected with the people and can't be ignored. The aspiration and law in accordance with the need of maximum development. They also appreciation, but if they do not work for the benefits of people, they won't be elected. So no doubt the advice of civil servants should be given weightage. They expert in areas and but this does not lessen the importance of politicians, as they are voice of the people and civil servant are the mind of the nation. So they are voice but they are mind. Civil servant को mind कहते हैं of the nation. They politicians are the heart of the nation and politicians are the heart of the nation. So civil servant are just like robots and follow the rules. For example, if civil servant has ordered the guard by gate of the temple, allowing people to come is only after putting off slipper or shoes or gate of the temple, he she will follow the instruct literally. If a person visit temple barefooted, a civil servant would not allow him to enter in the temple, and you may get such absurd reply from the civil servant if you visit the government office in India. So any country can prosper when its mind and heart work for the same objective. So डेवलपमेंट के लिए क्या चाहिए कि हमारा माइंड और हार्ट दोनों साथ में काम करना चाहिए. सो it is very complex. Role of civil servant is increased. They gain control over the data, technical information. They have upper hand of the minister, who are generally not expert in their department. Civil servants do not directly snatch the power of the minister, but they regulate the minister. So they are regulated by the minister by playing important role. Therefore, politicians must be firm in their decision, not sacrifice laws, and use the knowledge of citizens for maintaining healthy relationship or betterment of the country. So ultimately, we want development of the country. Frank Goodnow, father of the American civil service. So Goodnow जो थे, he was called as the father of American civil service. So deal with the policies and express state with the administrative work is execute these policies. Politician heavily influenced by the administrator, a complete separation of work is not possible. Even Woodrow Wilson, father of public admin, realized that dichotomy is a fiction. So it is a fiction dichotomy. The only thing Wilson wants is to prevent the administration from the civil evil effect of politics and institutionalize the practice of the effective administration. Practically, the relation between the ministry and civil servant is full of suspicious conflict and uneasiness and unfaithfulness. These are examples right from the time of the first Prime Minister P. Jawaharlal Nehru. This conflict is often termed as the first corruption scandal that was in 1957 Mudra deal. So Mudra deal was there, and that was the corruption. When inconsistency of this deal came to the limelight, both of them, the finance minister T.T. Krishnachari as a finance secretary, starting blaming each other. So T.T. Krishnachari, he was blaming, and Chagla commission was appointed, reported within the month that consequently the minister is responsible for the action taken by the secretary. He cannot take shelter behind them, nor can disown their action, and thus the principle of ministerial responsibility. And the finance minister resigned. Another incident, 1966, Home Minister Gulzari Lal Nanda blamed the Home Secretary for the non-cooperation. So Gulzari Lal Nanda was blaming to the Home Secretary non-cooperation, and that was Prime Minister for the replacement. But the request was not considered. Home Minister was resigned from the government. Another 1971 conflict between the Railway Minister Hanumantha Rai and the chairman of the CCBC Ganguly related to the financial administration of railway. Rajiv Gandhi had a conflict with Agriculture Department of the CS Shastri. So Rajiv Gandhi, he has also conflict with the CS Shastri. Rural Development Secretary of the Bandyopadhyay of the Foreign Secretary and AP Venkataraman. And this was also the dispute between Home Minister and the Home Secretary. So there was a Bandyopadhyay. Bandyopadhyay was during, he is a Foreign Secretary of Rural Development Secretary Bandyopadhyay and Foreign Secretary Venkatesharan. 1993 में there was a dispute between Home Minister and the Home Secretary. So this kind of the disputes always arise. That's why what we can do. First, it is commonly habit of minister to blame to the civil servant misappropriation. Like Chagla Commission, the doctrine of ministerial responsibility has two facets, and the minister has complete autonomy within their sphere, and necessary corollary as must take full responsibility. Okay, action of the servant. Effective and efficient civil servant lies the creativity of my minister. They should encourage free and unbiased advice. And ARC जो था इसने कहा there is a disinclination, so ministers to welcome the frank and impartial advice to the secretary. Civil servant should be judge and objective appraisal system, and this will possible only when minister will well skilled and sense of direction. So direction of administration only the system is running smoothly. After commencement era of the coalition government after 1980, Indian increasing the power game, it is increased the influence of money and criminal politics. So politician when become a minister do illegal things, and all those people who help to the election physically, economically. At this point the opinion was there. Vohra committee, it was centered the criminalization of politics. This committee is observed that criminals and millennials are enjoying the patronage of ruling party. Also, minister civil servants join their hands and become the grand thieves. Its coalition type of government minister become busy and Lok Sabha. As the result, they give less attention to the department. Also, due to the presence of number of the parties with the contradictory view, the legislation process is so ambiguous, and therefore to hold this coalition often blurred language used by the administration for implementation of the policy. It is often heard that citizens do not respect their politicians, and them their private circle and politicians react similarly. Next one is like ARC. in 1966 suggested the improvement of the Indian civil servant for following commission recommendation that all major decisions should be written along with reason. So there should be a written reason. It's more important where policy is not clear and there is a possibility of the deviation. So the environment of fearlessness and the fair play must be maintained, and Prime Minister with the help of the Cabinet Secretary and Central Personal Agency should take interest developing a healthy relationship between the disputes. Ministers should not interfere in day-to-day administration in case of complaints. An effort should be made only the civil servant also to understand the difficulty of the ministers and sensitivity and emotions of the attachment toward the political head. So Prime Minister is also initiated conference of the Chief Secretariat in 1996, an agenda for the effective responsive administration. This conference aims making the public service more dynamic, effective, accountable. Short minister should show confidence toward the civil servant and loyalty. So T.S. Subramaniam, Union of India. In 2003, that was a honorable apex court ruled the bureaucrat should pull all the dictate minister in black and white so that the response can be fixed needed. Similarly, concept was bureaucrat came into the existence 2010 to crush the existing increasing nexus between politicians and the bureaucrats. Okay, so this is all about. Now conclusion, today the situation that average bureaucrats hardly say no to his political head, and given the illegal which result in the recent increase scam, blame should not be raised only the politician as a greedy, and the overzealous bureaucrats also contribute equally. Central Bureau of Investigation also arrests the Siddhartha Behura and Telecommunication Secretary Raja while investing the 2G scheme. So we want to say that the both minister civil servant are like two pillars for the government and weakness and proper functioning of the government. Theoretically, they play a different role in government as work of they are politicians, and proper functioning of the government. Theoretically, they play different role in the government. So politicians is to formulate the policies and bureaucrats are execute them, but the practically there no line, or we can say the blurred line are there. So role of bureaucrat change now, it is not perform the regulatory function but also the participation and welfare activity. The doctrine of anonymity neutrality gave the waiver not only suited the present environment. So the political executive must remember the simply representation of the people and get power only from people due to the democratic form of government, not the expert. On the other hand, permanent executive civil servants should be aware of the parliamentary form of government policy making. Ministers should patiently hear the department secretary, and pay letter must submit the minister. So there is a conflict of interest also there, and so this was exactly what was the conflict of interest between the minister and the civil servant.